how to sleep better, better sleep habits. This is for those of you that have challenges sleeping, and we're going to go all over that in this episode. But before we do, go ahead and roll that intro.
Welcome to the RockStar In Life podcast, where you learn the secrets to unleashing your inner rock star so you can make the world your stage.
Hey, fellow rock stars, Dr. Dan here. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking all about sleep and how you can create better sleep habits, sleep better, get improved sleep, a better quality of sleep. And, doing that obviously will help you function better. It'll help you be more successful, and that will help you be happy, healthy, and wealthy, which is what all of you want, right? I mean, if you don't, then I don't know why you're actually listening to us. But before we get rocking with this, let's go ahead and bring in Tony. Tony, are you there?
What's happening, fellow rock stars? Tony here with a terribly acted intro. Good to be back here again, Dan. Nice to see you.
I don't know, man. You got me on that one. I was like, oh crap, Tony fell asleep. Should we be quiet? I mean, I was a little confused though, because you are controlling the cameras.
I'm pressing
so I don't know
buttons.
how you did that.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, maybe you had them preset already. You knew when you were going to wake up. Is that what it was?
Maybe. You've just given away the game. You've given away. You pulled back the curtain and revealed the little man
I have.
pressing the buttons. That's literally what I am.
Nice. Well, today's episode is, it's really important, obviously. Why? Because sleep is important for your health, for your brain, for everything that you do. I mean, if you can't sleep without it, you would be dead, and that would suck. It's like that movie, and again, Tony's going to go, oh man, you're talking about a movie? What's usually my answer? So I just took that away from you, Tony. But have you seen that movie on Netflix? It's a newer movie. It came out not that long ago, called Awake with Gina Rodriguez.
Oh, actually, yeah, because it's a new movie. I've definitely not seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll come back to you in 10 years, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that classic.
Yeah.
I remember that
I've
one.
seen that movie.
I finally saw that one 20 years later.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly,
cool. Well,
exactly.
without giving away the movie, basically something happens in the world and nobody on Earth can sleep, and they lose their ability to sleep. And a spoiler alert, it isn't good. So if you want to be freaked out and you have challenges sleeping, I probably recommend don't watching that film, because it'll probably make you sleep even less. But
Wait, hang
I don't
on.
have a problem with it.
The movie isn't good, or them not being able to sleep isn't good?
Both of those together.
Oh, damn.
No, the movie isn't that bad. I'm just saying that it's bad if you can't, if you're a person that can't sleep and you watch the movie, then it's going to give you more nightmares.
Oh, God.
Well, actually going to give you more daymares, because you can't sleep. So you can have day nightmares, right?
Okay, well, I might check it out still then.
So segue into something more positive. Before we get into all the sleep hacks and all the cool stuff that we are going to be going over and covering today, there was a podcast episode that I saw not that long ago, and I don't remember, Tony, if I was talking to you about it, but I was talking to my wife. I've spoken to quite a few people that have sleep challenges themselves, and there's an episode where Frank Grillo. Are you familiar with Frank Grillo?
No. If he's not a Marvel actor, then no.
He is actually.
Really?
So you have no excuse. Yeah, he's actually in the Avengers as Crossbones.
Who's Crossbones? Are you messing with me?
We should have some funny music going on right now, but who's Crossbones? Well, they didn't give him really a lot of airtime, but you'd remember him as being in the elevator with Captain America.
That guy, yeah.
And
I've
he's
just Googled him.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
yep.
there you go.
You did mention it. You did.
Yeah. Anyways, I really like him as an actor. He's in a great show called Kingdom. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is. An MMA show, and it's really, really good. Anyways, he's in a bunch of other movies. He's in The Purge, Boss Levels, a Hulu movie as well that he was in. It's like Groundhog Day, but action. And anyway, so in the interview, he's talking about how he doesn't sleep that much. that he will get like 2 to 4 hours a night or in the morning of sleep, but yet he's able to function on that amount of sleep. And he had said something about he thinks that he has this special gene that they just discovered that doesn't require you to have a lot of sleep, or you get the same amount of sleep, sleep quality from a shorter amount than other people do, the same people do with larger amount, like your average person. And I was like, whoa, is this legit? Like, what is he talking about? So I actually did my own little research on that for my own wife, because she's had sleep challenges in the past and still a little bit today, but she's gotten over most of them using some of the strategies we're going to talk about today. And so anyway, so researchers have found that there's at least as of right now, there was like 2 genes, and they're separate genes, and some have both, I believe, and some just have one or the other. And the genes are they believe to be mutations. They don't know a lot about it. Like the first one, I think they discovered like maybe 10 years ago or something like that. And what they've found out is that they believe that it's a mutation for people in today's world, because the rest of us have evolved to where we operate on natural sunlight. So as soon as it gets dark, like we would have candles or whatever, and there wouldn't be street lights, and there wouldn't be things to do. You wouldn't go clubbing at like 2 a.m. back in the olden days, right? Because they didn't have artificial light and all that stuff. And they didn't have electronics. So there wasn't any music or DJ playing or anything like that. So we had no reason to stay up late. And you couldn't work, and you couldn't go shopping or anything like that after dark. It just wasn't, convenient. And we didn't have cars and lights on our cars and things like that. So they believe that some of these people with these genes have mutated genes because of the way the world is now, that their bodies don't require as much sleep in order to get the same quality of sleep. So most of us need like 8 or 9 hours of sleep, whereas they might only need 3 or 4 or 5 hours of sleep in order to get the same quality. So I thought it was very, very interesting. So if you're somebody that gets like 4 or 5 hours of sleep and you feel like, you're refreshed and you're fine, but then in your head, you're like, oh, I don't get enough sleep. What's wrong with me? You might not require that much sleep. So I'm not saying that the rest of you should strive for only 4 or 5 hours of sleep, because obviously if you need it, you need it. And there might be times you need more sleep. So I just thought that was very interesting and something that you should definitely mention. So people can kind of feel a little relieved if they have that problem. But we believe, maybe my wife has that gene. They're doing testing on it still, and there's more discoveries. And so we'll kind of see where that research goes. But I thought that was pretty cool. Do you know anybody like that, Tony?
Yeah, so This makes me think of some rather famous people from the past who used to get by on very, very little sleep. There's, of course, Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister of England. She reportedly used to sleep very little, as well as Winston Churchill. But also Thomas Edison, Voltaire, Leonardo da Vinci, and Nikola Tesla. They all reportedly slept very little and would take little naps. So, I guess people might call that biphasic sleeping, if you have one nap and a short sleep. But yeah, I find that really interesting. The idea that everyone has their own kind of what's right for them. It's not just 8 hours and that's it. That's what everyone needs. I like the idea that figure it out and find out what feels right for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I like I said, I don't recommend striving for 4 hours. If you normally sleep 8 hours a day and you feel decent or you feel good, I don't recommend trying to sleep less. I'm only going to do 4 hours because so-and-so is successful and they did that, so I'm going to do it too, because that could be a recipe for disaster as well. Now, I know me and Tony have talked about this separately and behind the scenes in the past about how we, our sleep habits and what we tend to kind of gravitate towards. And as a kid myself, I always had challenges falling asleep, and I would want to stay up all night, even on school nights. I remember both as a kid, as a teenager, and as a young adult, even if I wouldn't have learned the things that I learned and study the things that I studied, then I would probably still be going to bed about 3 or 4 in the morning, and I would probably sleep until about 11 or noon every day, because naturally that's just how I want to do it. And some experts out there would have you believe like that's what you should do. You should like live like that. And I do not recommend living like that. Now, we're going to talk about with these strategies and these tips and these hacks that we talk about with sleep, we're going to talk about a perfect world. And then we're going to talk about maybe what you need to do temporarily, because maybe you're out there, hustling and grinding, trying to get some stuff moving and rocking and rolling. You got some projects, or maybe you got like deadlines that you need to get done, or you're doing a product launch, or you're working on a specific project or a side hustle that you're doing. And you're like, okay, for now I've got to study because I want to, I'm going to college and I'm learning this, or I take this test. And for the next, few days or few weeks or occasionally or for the next year or two, I'm going to try and just, sleep 3 hours in the evening and then take a couple naps during the day and work it in because that's what I have to do because these are my goals and these are what I need to do. So obviously, you got to do what you got to do. But we're talking, we're going to break it down into a perfect world and then, and then what you got to do. Cause I mean, it's in a perfect world, none of us would use electronics. We wouldn't have EMF all around us. We wouldn't have all these Wi-Fi signals and radio signals and all this stuff, buzzing all around us. We wouldn't have we wouldn't have Facebook and YouTube and all this other stuff going on and all these distractions and all these other things. But, and cars, right? We wouldn't have cars, but, who wants to, not a lot of people want to live in a world like that. Without Amazon and without those kind of, like things that we're so used to. So we'll kind of break that down a little bit and we'll give some tips and advice on things like that. But just know that, if you're somebody that also likes to stay up really late, naturally, and you want to like you get more energy at like 2 a.m. but you're like, oh, that's how my body type is. I need to do that. No, you don't. That's not how your body type is. You don't need to be a morning person, but you don't need to stay up till 4 a.m. And I do not recommend doing that unless it's something specific. Like, for instance, like Tony, Tony's in the UK and right now it's like, what time is it right now for you, Tony?
It is 10:52 p.m.
Yeah. And for me, I don't because I'm working on a perfect world here. For me, I don't want to do any kind of business or anything online past about preferably 5 p.m. I usually stop at about 4 p.m. My time is when I stop doing things. But there's been, times like almost every week when we release these episodes, I'm editing and doing stuff, just getting it done so that way it's ready. And I got to get it up and get it up there. And there was one time I was up to like 3 a.m. getting it up there and getting it online and getting it all ready. And because I hit a couple problems and challenges that it was unforeseen when I was rendering it, and there was a couple challenges. So I had to do it, but I didn't do that every single night. That's a different thing. So now, again, because I want to be able to have the perfect world. What I ended up doing is instead of doing Friday morning releases, what I'm doing now is Saturday afternoon releases. So that gives me an extra day and a couple hours, and I don't have to rush to get it done at like 2, 3 in the morning. So there always are ways that you can be flexible and adjust. But I do understand if you have to get something done at a certain time, so you need to fit it in. Because you got a family, you got young kids, you got to take care of, you got a side job or something like that you got to do. So you got to do what you got to do. But just to give you a kind of funny backstory is I used to stay up like 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, even on school nights. And then because I went to public school. And my mom would come in the morning and she would try to get me out of bed. And I was like a zombie. Like she could not get me out of bed. So I think about probably every morning she would have to go get a cup of water and stick her hand in it and splash it all over my face nonstop. And she would do that. And and I wasn't allowed to have a lock on my door because otherwise she would be banging on my door trying to get me out of bed because I would just sleep through all that. And I didn't want to go to school, but so I thought that was kind of funny. But I remember even for years, I couldn't even take naps. And it wasn't until I started working at when I was in my early 20s, I started working for UPS, United Parcel Services here in the U.S. And we wore those brown outfits and stuff, and drove those brown trucks. And I was working in the sorting area where all the trucks come in and sort and put all the stuff onto those smaller trucks so they can drive them out and deliver them later in the, in the morning and in the day. So I had to get there like at 4 a.m. And because I had to wake up so early, and I still didn't want to go to sleep early, I would like maybe sleep 2 or 3 hours in the evening. And then I would end up sleeping throughout the day in a nap or something like that. So I learned to nap because of out of necessity. My body needed it because I wasn't getting enough sleep at night. So ever since then, in my 30s and 40s, I've been able to just take a nap whenever I need to. But I don't operate that great off of naps. The only times I take naps now is if I really, really need it and my body is like really needing it. Like if I get, sick, and my body needs to, recover, or cleanse itself, then I will take a nap. So it might happen like once or maybe twice or maybe 3 times at the most a year, I'll actually take a nap. Whereas my wife is the complete opposite. She takes naps all the time and she feels great because after I take a nap, I feel kind of groggy and tired. And sometimes I get a headache. So that's why I prefer not to take naps myself. So everybody's going to be different when it comes to something like that. Are you similar to that, Tony?
Yeah. So for me, I've done those quizzes where they're like, oh, what's your chronotype and all that, and I think finding like your chronotype is whatever, like a night owl in my case, was actually a bad thing because it led to me then going, oh well, I should be allowed to stay up late because I'm a night owl, but the reality is, like you said, there's perfect world and then there's doing what you got to do because we've got a 2-year-old. We work in the day. Now, this works quite nicely for me doing stuff like this because I am a bit more awake, but I've been up since early with the kid. And ironically, we're doing this episode on sleep. I was talking with Dan just before I got to sleep. I got back from the office. I left here at gone 1 last night. I got in, and then at 2 a.m., Pippa, our little girl, she was vomited everywhere in the bed, and then she was awake until 3:30. So for me, this is a great episode for me. But the thing about taking naps, for me, I had to kind of train myself to take shorter naps because I would just be gone. I'd be out of it. So I wouldn't recommend people do this all the time. But now and again, I leverage what I call a caffeine nap, where I'll shoot a hard espresso or something like a double espresso. Again, wouldn't recommend it. But I'd hit a double espresso, set an alarm for like 20 minutes, and then have 20 minutes nap because the espresso takes 20 minutes, the caffeine to get into your body. And then when the alarm goes off 20 minutes later, I would be like charged with it, and I'd be like, oh, okay, right, okay, let's go do the thing. And also before the nap, I'd set an intention of what it was I was going to do when I got up, which I feel is important. But so naps, they're a funny old thing for me. Lately, what I've been doing is listening to guided meditations. There's nap meditations out there, but at the end, they're like, now wake up and face the day, that sort of thing. They're the kind of ones that where it's like, okay, wake up, you're done now. That's the kind of way, just in case I did nod off. And I'd set an alarm as well. But yeah, that's my little nap history there.
That made me laugh because I thought about it because I had downloaded an app for my wife because she had a challenge, and I'll get into that in a second, but she had like a really big challenge with being able to sleep. And so I downloaded a bunch of apps and paid apps and free apps and all that stuff. And for whatever reason, their meditation and their sleep thing went through and it would help her fall asleep. But then like after an hour or 2 hours, it like would change to something else and be talking. And she's just like, what the heck? Like it would just woke her up. And then she was like wide awake. And she's like, it was supposed to be a sleep app though. Like it wasn't a nap app. It was a sleep app. And it just woke her up. And there was no way of like fixing that from stopping. And we even reached out to them and never got an answer. But I just thought that was interesting. But I don't know if I ever told you the story, Tony. I know I never told the audience, but my wife had went through a challenge, and we'll go into a different episode. I don't think we've ever spoken about this, the pushback when you, for everything for everything, for every action, there is a reaction, equal and opposite. So basically, as you're growing and pushing forward, and this is a law, this is, something that happens, no matter what. So as you're getting progression, like, you might be getting some success, and then all of a sudden you might have a big win, and all of a sudden you get this big pushback against you. And that's that equal pushback. So you just have to push through that to get stronger and stronger and stronger. But you can expect there's going to be some kind of a pushback that's going to force you to grow past that. And she had done an event, a few things had happened at that point, and she had done a large yoga event at it was a place called Yoga West that had been open for probably 40, 50 or something like years, ever since Kundalini yoga was first introduced into the US. It was like one of the first places that they started teaching that. So it was like the mecca of Kundalini yoga in Los Angeles. So she actually got to do an event there, and it was like a packed full room. There was like celebrities, and there was directors and movie people in movies, movie stars and things like that in there as well. So it was a really cool event. And she got to teach, like, I think it was like a 2-hour event or something like that, or an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. Anyways, after that, she was buzzing with all this energy, and she got home, and all of a sudden that's when she couldn't sleep anymore. Like, she would fall asleep from necessity, like her body saying survival. Like, she would not be able to, she'd be wide awake, and then all of a sudden she would doze off when her body just couldn't handle it anymore. But then she'd wake back up maybe half an hour later or something like that. And this is during the day, not in the evening. So it got so bad that she thought something was wrong with her, and I had to take her to emergency care. I took her twice. Once, she thought she was having a heart attack. She was having a panic attack, and she'd never had anything like that before. And so she was just like flipping out, and they tried to medicate her. So she took some medication, but then she didn't want to take it. And then she still had challenges. They gave her sleeping pills. That really didn't help. It didn't really solve it. She would nap, but then she would feel worse because of being on the medication. And it just kept going off and on for a while. And a couple times she ended up driving herself in the middle of the night because she didn't want to wake us up, I guess. She just ended up driving down to emergency room herself, saying like, I can't sleep, and I feel like I'm having a heart attack or whatever. And they would just tell her like, look, you calm down, you're having a panic attack and all this. So anyways, long story short, she had a lot of sleep challenges, a lot of sleep problems, which we like to call challenges. And fortunately today, with some of the strategies we're going to be talking about and some of the tips and the hacks, she is no longer having those challenges anymore. Every now and then she might have a little pushback, and she might have a challenge falling asleep, and she might end up falling asleep instead of like at 11 or midnight. She might fall asleep at like 3 a.m, occasionally 4 a.m, but she would still get her 4 or 5 hours of sleep and then take a nap or something like that during the day as well, and be able to function perfectly. But so there is a light at the tunnel for you, for those of you that have like really bad challenges with sleep. Just know that you're not alone. We're coming from experience, and we're coming from things that have worked for us and for our family. But I guess this would be a good spot before we get into all these strategies and these hacks and tips to say that, we are not medical doctors. We can't prescribe anything, and we're not telling you to not listen to your doctors or anything like that. Do your own research. What we're going to be sharing today is all for entertainment purposes, right, Tony?
Yeah. It's all anecdotal, what works for us and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it makes sense for you, and after speaking to your doctor to see if this works for you or it's good for you, or maybe your doctor says it isn't, and you need to fire that doctor and get a different doctor until you find one that is willing to side with us. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. You do you, boo.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
So
just don't sue us.
So something me and Tony talked about before we even got into this episode was, like we were talking about this whole night owl thing and how he feels like he has more energy in the evening and feels like he's less distracted, which makes sense because the world is quiet. And that's another reason why I liked it so much is the world is quiet. The kids are quiet. Everything's quiet. Nobody's bothering you. Nobody's calling, nothing like that at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning or midnight or whatever. And it does feel like you can get your best work done with no distractions. But the problem is at what sacrifice. So again, in a perfect world, in a non-perfect world, then yes, do what you got to do. But in a perfect world, you would go to bed early and you would just wake up a couple hours earlier before the kids are up, before everybody else is up, before the world is moving, and you will get way better quality of work done. I didn't believe this when it was prescribed for me from my Guru Singh. He had first told me about this when I was writing my first book. And he had told me, he's like, don't burn. There's a saying, burning the midnight oil or burning the candle at both ends. And that's where it comes from. It comes from like yogis talking about how you get better work in the morning, more creativity comes out in the morning versus you scraping the barrel, the bottom of the barrel, trying to get the residue from the bottom. And you might be thinking like, oh, this is great. This residue, it's so much great creativity, but imagine how much better it could be if you actually went to bed earlier, woke up earlier and did it instead, because they talk about the quality of sleep that anything before midnight when you go to sleep is counted as double points, like double hours. So basically, if you go to bed at 10 p.m., then if let's say, you slept till, whatever time in the morning, you get an extra 2 hours because you got 2 hours before midnight. So you can count that as an extra 2 hours. So if you go to bed at 10, then you wake up at like 6 or whatever, then you get an extra 2 hours. You could add that to that as well. So I thought that was very interesting. And for a while, when I had all these projects I was working on, I would actually go to sleep at about 10 or 11 and I would wake up at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and it felt like crap. It felt like hell. I hated it. I was like, oh man, this sucks. And it took a couple days for me to start getting used to it, but I was always tired still in the morning. I never got used to that feeling of first waking up and being like, oh man, my head and just not feeling great or whatever. But as I got through my morning and I started doing some yoga and some stretches and meditation and took a shower and cleansed myself, took cold showers, cold water therapy. And when I did that, I would actually be fully awake, alert, and I'd feel great. And I would get so much done. I really did. Like in the first like 2 or 3 hours in the morning, when I would get that done, like 6, 7 in the morning, I would get more done in those 2 hours than I was getting done in about 5 or 6 hours later in the evening and at night. So I just thought that was incredible. And the work was like very, it was just like flowing through me like crazy. And it was like addictive. And I really enjoyed it. So it was something that I did for quite a while, and I would actually start falling asleep earlier. Like I'd be ready for bed like at 9:30 or 10. But then I started traveling and doing events and things like that. And of course, everybody stays up late, different time zones, on the plane, off the plane. Just breaking your habits, and then my kids getting older, staying up. So all these excuses of why I stopped doing it, I just stopped doing it. So today I still go to bed. I go to bed maybe like, I get in bed about 11:30, fall asleep by about midnight or so, 12:30, and then, I'll wake up anywhere from like 8 or 9 a.m. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to go back to waking up early. I'm going to start doing that again and doing that. So you can go in circles. I mean, you can go in cycles, I should say cycles, where, occasionally you'll try that. And if you love it, stay with it. And then if something throws you off that horse and you got to it breaks your habits and you got to, for a while not wake up that early and not go to bed on time, then so be it. You got to do it and then get back to it again, which is what I'm going to do as well. So, there's always that. But I thought that was really interesting. You get the double pointed in the evening. So that's something that I highly recommend that you try doing. Is that something you're going to try?
Well, you see, I mean, the getting up early thing, I know so many people who do it. They're all in the 5 a.m. club. You know, they got the book, the 5 a.m. club. They've recommended I read it, you know, and part of that is getting to bed early, which makes sense, or earlier. For us, you know, by the time that Pippa's got to bed, it's like 8 p.m. Then, you know, but after we, you know, bath at 7, but all of her messing about, she's in bed, we can go at 8 p.m. We're about right. Okay, we're probably clear. From that point, that is when that's when our evening, our time together, where we're not mummy and daddy, is. So to just have 2 hours, that's my problem with it. Is that, you know,
it's your what?
That is my problem with it.
Challenge.
But that is my. Well, no. What I'm saying is
Challenge.
that's what I've got against it. That is what I'm like. Oh, it doesn't. I don't feel like it.
Well, of course you got against it. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
You gave a very pointed word there.
Yeah.
It's your problem.
So that's my problem with
Problems
it.
can't be solved, man. Problems can't be solved.
Yeah.
So
that's my disagreement with it. You see, not
that's
with your
reality.
point, but with it. You know, like, so. Otherwise, when would we spend time together? You know. So that's a factor, I guess, you know, other people in the house and stuff. However, I have done in the past, like I said, you know, when I did, especially when I tried the biphasic sleeping, I was up dead early and I was super productive. I couldn't meditate first thing because I would fall back asleep. But I guess that's where the cold showers come into it, isn't it? Yeah, I think there's one of my favorite things about these shows is there's always something to take away and something to try. Always something to try. So I love the idea that before 10 is worth double. You said before 10?
Double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth double because like there seems to be a tipping point for me. Especially if I go on the VR headset past maybe say 10:30 at the very latest, that's it. I'm scrolling on my phone till 2 a.m. just because I'm just wired. So yeah. And we'll get into that in a bit, won't we? With all the what to do and what not to do. But yeah, for me, the idea of being in bed for 10, I'd love to try it. Not on nights when we're recording these though.
Of course. So let's get into some prep stuff, right? Let's get into some things that you can do before bed. So before you're ready to get into bed, and these will help you with your sleep. So we're going to get into these hacks and these tips and things like that. And some of them are going to be very basic. They're going to be things that you might already know. They're going to be things that don't cost you any money. And then there's going to be some things that, you know, are going to cost a little bit of money, but are good for you. And then there's going to be some higher level stuff that are like what some call biohacking, where it's supposed to be like, you know, cutting edge strategies and tools and things that you can use that might cost a little bit more money, but have benefits. And for myself, I love to do a little bit of everything. I love to test out everything, see how it works, see how it fits. I like to research it. And if it's something that isn't going to be harmful for me, then I'm going to test it out and I'm going to try it. And whether or not I can notice a big difference, because people always ask like, oh, hey, you're using that red light thing. Do you notice a difference? And I'm like, well, the only way I notice a difference is if like I purposely injured myself and then I was to not, you know, like not do anything for it and just let it like recover on its own and see how long it takes. And then do the same injury one more time in the same spot or the other foot, or, you know, if it's a foot or a toe, sprain the other toe the exact same perfect way. And then now I'll use this thing and now we'll see how it does differently. So it's really tough to say like what you notice happening faster, but it's like, why not? Like, why not do it? That's like saying, don't ice your toe and see how long it takes to feel better once you injure it. It's like, no, I'm going to ice it. I don't care if you know, I'm assuming it's going to make it go faster. And if it doesn't, then what's the harm? I iced it for 15 minutes, you know, every couple hours. And I did that for the first 48 hours. Cause that's what, you know, doctors and people recommend and the research shows. So why would I test against that? You know, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I take some curcumin, you know, pills or something like that? If I even pronounce that right, but you know, why wouldn't I take that? Cause it's been shown to help reduce inflammation. So by how much? Who knows? Who cares? I mean, they say it does. And there are studies on it. So of course I'm going to throw that at it as well. It's those that, I'm not going to just like grab some cat food and eat that and go, oh, I think this might reduce inflammation, even though there's no evidence, but I'm just going to try it. I'm not going to try that, obviously. Cat food is really disgusting, right?
Yeah, that's quite. Just the idea of you eating cat food just made me laugh, to be honest.
I don't know if I've ever tried cat food. I have tried dog food before.
Yeah, the dry biscuits. I've tried it. I think everyone has at some stage.
Just as a joke.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could injure both legs the same and then just treat one.
Yeah. Let me get on that.
Do it for the podcast.
I'll do that.
Dan. Do it for the podcast.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it for the, what do they always say, like, do it for the gram. Do it for the gram, right?
Oh, yeah, do it for the gram. Yeah, take one for the team. Do it for the
What
gram.
would I do for a Klondike bar?
Yeah, I've never tried that.
All right. Me neither. So one of the most important things that I would recommend would be exercise every single day. We've talked about this before, and this is something that you should be doing every single day, even if it's just a walk. So we'll talk perfect world and then we'll talk bare minimum. Take a walk every day, get some sun, preferably get some sun, like 10 to 20 minutes every single day, at least 10 minutes every single day, get out there. If you got to do an evening walk, then do it, but get out there, walk, work out a minimum of 2 times a week. That'd be the bare minimum, but 3 to 4 times, or 7 times if you're an overachiever and you love it like I do. But do some resistant band type stuff, the stretchy bands, or mix them together with some body weight exercises. You can get the suspension trainers like the TRX, where they, that's just the brand name, where they attach it to something and you can do like all kinds of exercises with it. Or, obviously dumbbells, or go to the gym, go somewhere. So really, really highly recommend that you do that, a bare minimum of twice a week for resistance training, and every single day go on a walk. Super important to get out there, connect, or at least get on a treadmill and move, or elliptical trainer, or whatever the form of cardio you like to do. Swim, I don't care. Do something, right? Get out there and exercise and do something. Also, something that we talked about in other episodes, past episodes, was doing some yoga. And I'm not talking about just some gym yoga or some yoga that you just find online, or go to a yoga class at the YMCA or your local gym, like I said. But I'm talking about Kundalini yoga. It's super important. It's very, very important that you do it. It connects you. It gets your body and your mind right. It's a form of yoga that was developed for the householder, for people that had regular lives and couldn't afford to live in a cave and do nothing but do yoga all day and be away from everybody, in silence. So Kundalini yoga was developed to have very, very similar benefits that would have, people that do that kind of stuff. Traditional yoga, the ancient traditional yoga, I should say, not traditional yoga like you get on DVDs. Because I remember when I first started, like, oh, I heard yoga's good for you. I bought a DVD and I was doing these weird stances and I was like, this sucks. I hate this. And it wasn't until I was introduced to Kundalini yoga through Tony Robbins, through Guru Singh, his friend Guru Singh. So them together doing it. And I'm like, oh, if Tony does this, then I'm going to do it too. And we were doing, it also didn't hurt that we were doing it in Fiji under the coconut trees in the beautiful weather with a bunch of my like-minded friends and family, and just having a great time. And it was just really bonding and really awesome. So I came home and I'm like, hey, honey, we're doing yoga every morning. And she's like, what? So we were like out on our lawn doing yoga, and the neighbor was like staring at us, or we're out there chanting and doing stuff. So it was pretty cool. But, even if it's just, 10 minutes a day, just 10 minutes a day, the bare minimum, do a little meditation with it. We're going to be putting out, if we haven't already, we're going to be put out an episode or a short clip for 10-minute and 5-minute yoga as well, for those times that you got to get in a rush, because we've talked about it so much. So at the time of this video, it's not out yet, but we will have it out, and we'll put a link under here, and we'll be sure to mention it again in future episodes, and in other spots on the site, on rockstarinlife.com as well. So we'll definitely do that. But you can go ahead and check out Daily Shakti on YouTube, and we'll link to that as well, where my wife already has some stuff about that. So, do that. That's part of your exercise as well. I would do both those things together. And then also we could talk a little bit about caffeine, because I know Tony has some things he wants to mention about that as well. But first, I'd like to mention that there was another gene that they had, if you've ever done that 23andMe or one of those types of genealogy testing, where it tells you the kind of, like what we're like specific genes to you and stuff like that you have. I know that there's a gene they've identified that has to do with how caffeine affects you. And I had the gene where it basically could go either way, where it might affect me, but more than likely wouldn't, but could. And for me, caffeine doesn't really do that much for me. Like if I drink caffeine, it doesn't wire me. It doesn't wake me up. So I can have a soda. I don't drink soda, but if I wanted to, I could drink a soda and it wouldn't like keep me up. I could drink one at like 5 o'clock or 6 p.m. with caffeine. It's not going to wake me up. It's not going to wire me. Whereas my wife, she has the opposite gene where any caffeine like can make her more anxious, panicky. It can make her feel more energized if she's in a good headspace. But again, if she has like any kind of a challenge in the day going on, she's struggling with something or she's stressed about something, just a sip or two of caffeine will like, whoo, she's like all over the place. And it's like, we're talking about a couple sips. So it's better you just don't drink caffeine if you are one of those people that react like that. If it doesn't affect you that much, then I know like Tony, you were saying that you don't drink it past 2 p.m. I know my wife, even though she'll only do a couple sips of a drink, of a clean energy drink, she actually, an organic clean energy drink, she won't drink it past like, I think noon or something like that.
Crikey, yeah. So for me, the key thing with caffeine is I found that I can't drink it after around 2 p.m. And that's because caffeine has a half-life of around 5 hours. So however much caffeine you consume, after 5 hours, there's still half of it left in your system. So it takes a full 10 hours to be gone. But after that half-life, it's less effective, kind of. That's the idea. So, yeah, for me, caffeine is a big thing. And also, those of you who are thinking, oh, I'll just switch to decaf. Decaffeinated does not mean no caffeine. So bear that in mind as well. That's something people go, oh, I have decaf and I still can't sleep. Well, that might be the problem there. Also remembering like sodas, like Dan said, like a can of Coke or whatever, Pepsi, there's caffeine in that. There's caffeine in so many things that you forget. But it made me laugh the other day. And what you were saying, Dan, just popped it back in my head. My mum said, "Oh no, caffeine doesn't affect me. I can have a cup of coffee before I go to bed, and I'll have a cup of coffee when I wake up at 3 a.m, and then I'll have a cup of coffee at 5 a.m. It doesn't affect me at all." I'm like, So you wake up a lot then, hey mum? Yeah, I don't know why, I've always been like that. I'm like, oh, mum, come on, man. But there we go. This is they're not connected apparently. We'll leave it to it. She's nearly 80, so I'll leave it to it.
That reminds me of when people would always, like, we would talk about like biohacking back in the day before the internet was like really big on that stuff. And people would be like, oh, you're doing this thing. Do you notice any side effects from that? And I'd be like, no, I don't notice any side effects. And they didn't know I was joking though. Like, they're just like, are you okay? Like, because I wouldn't even laugh or anything. And I would just stare at him for a few seconds and wait until he got it. Like, what? So,
yeah, I'm one of those people who's really slow, and I would never get that. I'd be like, oh, yeah, Dan's got this weird tick. But yeah, the caffeine for me thing that was a big game changer for me. I also picked up this book. Great book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, who's a neuroscientist, and he talks about the science of a lot of this stuff, and the measurable stuff. And for me, two things stuck out. One was how NASA scientists did experiments with spiders, because you can see the output of spiders. They visually represent their work in a web. And they build like one every day or whatever, don't they? So you don't have to wait too long to see their output. And what they did was they got a cotton swab, and they put got a bunch of spiders and put a swab, a little bit of different stimulants onto the backs of the spiders, and they could see their output in the shape of their web that they made. And all you need to do is Google NASA spiders caffeine, and you'll see these diagrams. But basically, they showed a normal one, the control, nothing. It just looked like spider web. It was fine. It had, the hub and spokes kind of shape. And then they gave it LSD. They give spiders LSD, and it kind of had all the lines going out, all the spokes, but not many of the connecting ones going round. And they give them speed, and it just did a web with loads of gaps, and it was kind of broken. Marijuana, kind of lazily put together web, but it was a web. But then caffeine, what a mess it made. So people think, well, it gives you focus and all this. I think, like Dan was saying, like if you're anxious, maybe you're not anxious, maybe you're not. Maybe you're just over caffeinated, Maybe the caffeine is affecting you and bringing on those feelings of anxiousness. They're really heightening those feelings that you're having because it's a stimulant. And
that reminds me of that.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that reminds me of the movie 21 Jump Street, the remake one that they did,
Yes.
and Channing Tatum is on drugs and he's overconfident, and they ask him to come up and to answer a math question, like a highly advanced math question. He gets up there, he's like, and this equals this, and this, and this, and he like wrote like a bunch of sevens and something like that, and then he's just like, it's like, yeah, science, bitch, or something like that, or math or something. Yeah.
That scene kills me. It kills me when they've had the E's. That's
not E. It's actually some special. It's like some designer drug they talk about. It's not even that.
It's not even. Oh no!
I forgot what they call it.
The one, yeah, no, I know the scene. No, where it was we shouldn't even say this probably in videos because we get flagged or whatever. But where it was that fifth letter of the alphabet stimulant, it was in. It was in Bad Boys 2, and Martin Lawrence.
I remember that.
And he's stroking the boss's face. Oh, see, I have seen that because that was from like the 90s, 2000s. I've seen that. Early
nice.
2000s. You see? Yes, it's a film.
Yeah, so I'll wait 20 years to talk about newer movies with you.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've got shows like this to do. I've got a kid. It's all going on. But the last thing I wanted to say about caffeine, though, was how it keeps you awake. And this is what fascinated me the most. So when we decided to talk about sleep, I was like, I want to share this. So the way caffeine keeps you awake is your brain has all these sensors that senses your kind of level. It's like a gas tank level. And basically the more full your tank gets of this like a hormone called adenosine, the more sensors are triggered by it, the more sleepy you get. So caffeine, all that does is it like kind of puts rubber gloves over the sensors. It kind of stops the sensors from picking up this rising level of adenosine. And then what happens is as the caffeine starts to wear off, these sensors start to pick up the adenosine levels. And that's when people who are driving who are too tired, they kind of have these mini sleeps. They call them micro sleeps. And that's when people are falling asleep at the wheel and stuff. And so caffeine doesn't remove that hormone that makes you sleepy. The triggers signals to your brain that you need to sleep. It just masks it, hides it, and as soon as it's gone, that's when people start to just black out and fall asleep and stuff. And that's the adenosine hormone or fluid, whatever it is. But that fascinates me, all that side of things. So yeah, that's how caffeine works, and that's why I can't have it after 2 p.m.
You said the word sleep too many times. I started yawning. I'm glad you were only on you. I was like,
don't say yawn because that'll send me going.
Let's see if we can get him to yawn this time. I did it last time.
Like that, yeah. You didn't get me.
All right, let's get on the next one as Tony moves screens and yawns quietly in the background. The next one would be don't snack past 8 p.m. or eat a heavy meal past, ideally I would say, 5 or 6 p.m. would be the latest you want to eat a big, like your dinner, it's just like, it blows me away, like in the movies. And I guess like I used to do this back in the day too. We would go out to dinner at like 10 p.m. It's like, it's insane. I can't believe we used to do that. But, now I'll usually eat my dinner like 5 or closer to 6 p.m. because I usually get my workout in right before dinner. So about 6 or 7 p.m. at the latest would be when I eat my big meal. But I also do a protein shake, which I do in the evening at about 8:30 p.m. is when I drink it. So, but that's it's better digestible, so it's not a heavy meal or anything like that. My body's able to absorb it. There's no dairy in it. It's all dairy free. So my body can absorb that a lot quicker. So I'll do that about 8:30 p.m. Occasionally I'll have it a little later, like 9 p.m. if I'm, like I had other things and didn't finish and didn't get it in, or I had a later dinner, like at 7 p.m. or something like that, then I might do the shake at 9 p.m. But basically, 2-3 hours before I'm going to bed, I've already digested most of that stuff. And again, it's not just sitting in my stomach. So definitely do not eat large meals past like 7 p.m. at the latest, or any snacks that's heavy or dairy or anything like that. That will definitely help you, which is funny because a lot of people don't realize that the food could be affecting your sleep, because while you're sleeping, if your body has to process all this food and has to digest it all, it's doing stuff, it's working. So that's going to take away from you having solid quality sleep, and you're not going to feel as refreshed in the morning. So definitely don't be eating late at night or snacking on crap or anything like that. Definitely not junk and sugar or anything like that. And before we get into supplements, definitely want to remind you, we're not medical doctors, so we're not diagnosing anything here. And we're doing this for entertainment purposes, just to cover that one more time, just in case. But some of the supplements that I take, and Tony, not sure which of these you take, because I don't think we've ever even really talked about that. But as far as the supplements, the essential ones, make sure, again, this is going to help with sleep as well. So a lot of people, these are things that they don't realize, like, oh, this is going to affect my sleep. But having the right vitamins and taking your essential vitamins are going to help with quality of sleep. And some of them would be like, obviously, your regular multivitamin. I take an organic one. I take B12 also separately. Also your essential fats as well, like your omegas. I always get those confused. DHA, EPA. This one I actually take is called Complement. It is it's all plant-based, vegan, so you can check that out. It's really, really good. Also link to everything in there. This one actually contains, so it has a lot of the stuff in there. So I still take a multi, but this one contains B12, D3. So it has your vitamin D's in there. It has DHA, EPA, which is your fats, your iodine, K2, which a lot of supplements don't have K2, which is important. It has zinc, magnesium. Magnesium is important for your sleep as well. Selenium and a bunch of other things in here as well. Now, it doesn't have all the magnesium that I take, so I also take a magnesium supplement as well. And we'll link to that and put it in the like somewhere around there as well. So I take that. So I take this right before bed, the magnesium, the extra magnesium I take right before bed. Also do some CBD as well. I've used a couple different brands. I started using this Barker brands, which is the guy from Blink. What's the name of the band? Blink 80. Yeah, 182. I got the one right and the 82 right. So this is actually pretty cool. It's a sleep one. And it has some other ingredients in there as well, like melatonin and stuff like that, which is cool. You can take right before bed. And I like it so far. I just started taking it. I think I've taken it for about a month now. I need to order some more. There's some other brands I've taken as well. My wife, she actually drinks something called kava. And a lot of people haven't even heard of kava. It's something that they've been drinking in the islands for many, many years. I first learned about it through Tony, and when we stayed in his resort, his private resort on an island in Fiji, we were first introduced to kava, and we drank it, and we didn't know, like, it's kind of like it has like an effect on you like alcohol does, but not in the negative way. So it's not the same thing as alcohol, but it's a natural. It comes from the earth, and it's not processed or anything like that. And my wife, something that's really helped her be able to relax and calm down before bed, she drinks some of that before bed. My son does it as well, my 12-year-old son, my daughters as well. I don't know if both daughters, I forgot to ask if Maylena drinks it, but I know Kayleen drinks it every night before bed. And, it's something very, 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 very helpful for her in doing that. And there's two different types. There's a non-drowsy and there's a drowsy type. So make sure you do not drink the drowsy type earlier in the day because it can definitely affect your day. And don't drink it if you're going to have to drive in a car or work on heavy machinery or anything like that, or work on a farm and use any kind of like crop machines or anything like that. So you definitely don't want to chop an arm off or a leg or actually have an accident. But it's definitely something that's helped her as well. And I'll link to the brand and the kind that she takes as well. Also, don't watch TV or use electronics, which, emits a blue light. And don't do that, at least 2 to 4 hours before bed. I know even myself included, I'm guilty of it where I will watch something like an hour before bed, but I try and turn off all electronic devices, before that. Sometimes I won't, but at the very least, if you are going to watch TV or use electronics 2 to 4 hours before bed, you want to use some blue blocking glasses. Now, I usually use these right here. These are clear ones, and I use these whenever I'm on the computer. I would normally wear them now, but you can see there's like a little reflection, and I don't want it to be distracting. I know Tony has some that he wears as well. But during the day, I wear these clear ones. And then in the evening, actually I have different style ones too. Like I have these aviator style ones. So they make different styles and different brands, and I'll link the ones that I like. But I use these orange ones. Nice. I use these orange ones in the evening, which help kind of get that the rhythm in your brain and all stuff going on in your brain. It's telling you, it's saying, hey, it's time for bed, right? Just like when it gets dark and there's no light.
Real low, big guy.
Yeah, exactly. So when it gets dark and if you were all by, in a perfect world, we were using candlelight instead of actual artificial lights, especially if you use bright lights. We use a lower color spectrum. What is it called? It's like candlelight, whatever the candlelight number is. I think it's like 2000 or 3000. We use that in all of our bulbs throughout the house that I turn on in the evening because we get decent light during the day. And in the evening, I'll turn on those lights only throughout the house. So that way we have that more relaxing feeling and we're not feeling wide awake. You don't want to have the daylight going on, which will keep you up. And then you got the more extreme ones, which I actually tried out. I don't really love them, but sometimes if I'm pretty exhausted or I'm feeling really wired, like if I was Tony and I was doing this episode, as soon as I was off, I would be throwing these suckers on anywhere there was light in my house. Or if I was watching TV with the wife or looking at my iPad or anything, I'd be wearing these because these will block light from pretty much everywhere because they cover everything, and they make everything red. So not just like an orange, but red. These are like, I need to sleep and I have a hard time sleeping. These are the ones that I would wear. So
it's amazing.
Definitely Plus, wear these red ones.
You get the benefit of looking like Falcon from Avengers, so that's
exactly
added bonus. Amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Now,
yeah, I was just going to say that is why I can't watch or I can't play the VR past 10:30. That's the maximum late time for me, because literally it's two screens this close to your eyes and it's like charging me. Plus,
oh yeah.
The game I'm playing, I'm running, I'm shooting, is like, oh, there's a guy there shooting at him. So yeah, that's why playing VR for me, especially, I mean, there's some chills things on there, but playing VR for me is a no-no. And also why after these sessions, I'm wired and will end up probably scrolling unless I catch myself, because I've got these bright, big-ass daylight bulbs at me here, and I've got another light here, and that's just kind of part of filming stuff, and that's part of the job. So avoid stuff where you can. And one thing I've been tinkering with, but I'm like, do I want to? Is most of these devices now have a nighttime setting, don't they? Where the screen goes a bit yellow. It's anti blue light. I just better just go. No, I'm just putting it down. That's for me. But yeah, pretty much all devices like these Macs.
I use that.
I've got it. The phone. Yeah. It's just.
Yeah, I use that on all my devices. But I also wear the orange glasses as well.
Yeah.
But like for you, I would highly recommend, like if I was doing a late night thing, or even if I was on VR, again, you're doing it past 10, but again, you're not going to bed till after like 2 or 3 or 4. So again, that's that 2 to 4 hours before bed for you. But as soon as you got off, I would be throwing on these red suckers right here.
Yeah.
And there you go. Well, you can see. There you go. Everything's red. Everything's red.
Bath. That's nuts. Yeah, I might get some of them.
So
just
like
so I can look like Bono from U2. Yeah, or Blade.
There
yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, well, that brings me up to my next thing is don't watch, like any action movies or play action video games or watch any horror films or listen to dubstep or any like jungle beats, trap beats or anything like that gets you pumped up and amped up or depressing or anything like that, a couple hours before bed as well. Like that again is something people don't think about. They'll listen to music as they're getting ready for bed. Some people take a shower at night and they blast their tunes while they're getting ready for bed. And it's like, well, now you wonder why you can't fall asleep. It's, you got to stop doing those things as well. Put on some relaxing music. Like I use Spotify and I'll listen to Floating Through Space. There's a station floating through space. There's relaxing music. There's classical, a piano. There's all types of relaxing and music like that, or some Enya or something just really relaxing, like mellow. Yeah, mellow music.
I mentioned them last week actually, but we listened to Get Sleepy on Spotify with Thomas, and he reads them. He's got such a nice English voice, and he reads these great stories. But every now and then he has other people reading them, and sometimes they're really quite annoying voices, like, and then over the hill, and it's like they're trying to sound sleepy, whereas he just talks, and it's great. So we're going to listen to Thomas's stuff, Get Sleepy, on Spotify. Yeah, I'll stop derailing you now.
No, it's all good. I love it. I love it. I'm learning some stuff here too. Another thing I would recommend as well is don't talk on the phone or talk about important stuff. Like I won't get on the phone typically past like my parents. I will talk to sometimes like at 7 or 8 p.m. Typically because it's just like, how you doing? How the kids? What's going on? Things like that. But if you've got like, if there's like negative talk or anything like that, I will not do it past like 5 or 6 p.m. I definitely won't talk on the phone with anybody about business past 5 p.m. I'll usually do it like till like 4:30, and that's it. Because again, that gets your brain working, and it's like all over the place, and then you're in this grind and this mode of just like you can't. It's hard to quiet the mind down when you're thinking about all that stuff. So I highly recommend not doing that. Don't talk about about finances or money or anything like that too late in the evening as well, because that again can get your brain working and stressing and thinking about things like that. So highly recommend you don't do that. And if you work in an office or you work outside of the house, leave the office and everything that that you just left at your door, at your front door. As you come in, just cleanse yourself, wipe yourself clean of all that, and don't think about that, and just get ready. If you work in your house, or if your desk is in your bedroom, because it needs to be in there, then that's fine as well. Just make sure you leave everything at your desk. I know a lot of people say like, oh, it's not feng shui and it's not good to do that, but you got to do what you got to do. Like, for me, I have, I have several rooms in the house that I can work out of, but my bedroom is the quietest and it's the coolest of the house, like cool as in not too hot during the day. So I prefer to use that room a lot for a lot of the stuff that I do. So it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. But again, at the end of the evening, at the end of the day, when you're done, set everything down on the desk and leave it there. Just like if it was a door, just put it down there and walk away. Another thing that would be like feng shui and is, if you have a TV in your room, like I actually have one right behind me, right there above, right above the Deadpool head, you could see. I put a tapestry, like a kind of a sheet type thing over it, and I cover it in the evening before bed. And it's a good thing to do that because of the mirror and the energy and all that stuff. They say don't have like mirrors reflecting you in the evening, and also electronics and things like that. So I cover it. I turn it off and I cover it before I go to bed. And that's definitely a good thing as well. And then some other stuff would be like I use, if you have your phone next to your bed and you charge it or anything like that, like I keep it next to my bed charging. I turn off Wi-Fi and I put on airplane mode so there's no signal being emitted, but it still gives off like the charging and stuff. So I have this little EMF blanket that I bought, and I actually bought a big sheet and got on Amazon, and you can get it anywhere else, and I just cut it into pieces. And I use this to cover up my iPhone, and I fold it around it as it's charging. I also have one because I have not a repeater, but I have one of those Wi-Fi Aero boxes for the mesh network, and I have one in my office and in my bedroom. So what I do is in the evening, I just cover it in that sheet as well, so it limits the amount of EMF being transmitted through it. Or you can unplug it. It's up to you what you want to do with that. But again, these sheets aren't very expensive. I think I paid $20 or $30 for a big sheet, and you cut it into pieces. Do you do anything like that, Tony?
No. I tried for a while, like putting my phone on charge outside of the bedroom. But then I used to be like, oh, what time is it? And all this sort of thing. And so I used to think that I could hear electronics.
Yeah.
I could sometimes, when your fridge kind of goes like brrr, and it just does a thing.
Yeah.
But I used to think I could hear this high-pitched noise of Turns out I've got tinnitus. Turns out from all the gigs and speakers and all this, because it's just constant. And I've been out and about, and I've been in the middle of nowhere, and I can still hear it. So yeah, I've got tinnitus. But I tried for a while. Maybe not long enough, like unplugging everything from by my bed and putting it outside. But I think, if you think about it, there's so many things around you all the time emitting electromagnetic frequencies that I was thinking, well, me removing one or two things, is it going to make that much of a difference? And to be fair, I didn't have everything else in order. Like I was on my phone till too late and doing all things like that. So I think definitely these all come together to make a kind of a buffet of great things. You wouldn't just go get one little thing off the buffet. You'd get a few different things, wouldn't you? And I think these tips are probably going to come together in that way. Yeah.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned that because because I actually very similar. I really can. Like I can hear electronics, like a little buzz if there's something going on, or the refrigerator or something like that. And it will bother me. And I do get up if I hear something. I get up, and I remember when I moved my office into the downstairs room, which was one of the quieter rooms in the house, and it was a little cooler because when we first moved in, our neighbor had an old dog that would bark nonstop, and like for hours it would just bark at nothing, right? So I had said, okay, I got to move to the other side of the house now. That way it's not as loud. And I did that, and I remember hearing this like weird noise, and my wife came in there. She's like, I don't hear anything. Like, is there something wrong with you? And it took me a while, and I just went around the room because it was so faint. And I went around the room, and then I found it was coming from the wall, and I could hear this like little buzz, like a really low buzz sound. And then I went into the garage, which is the closest room to that. Well, there's the bathroom. So it's crazy. There's that room. Then there's the bathroom for the downstairs bathroom. And then there's the garage. So you wouldn't think that it would be coming from the garage. Well, I went into the bathroom. There's no noise. Went into the garage. Sure enough, it was I forgot what they call it, but it's the device that keeps the hot water rotating, so that way you have hot water, because like in bigger houses you have to have the water constantly like warming itself up.
being
Otherwise
circulated,
otherwise it'll take 20 minutes to warm up your water in some parts of the house, 10 minutes or whatever.
Okay, like your combi boiler type thing.
Yeah. So it's like a little device that attaches to it, and it's a timer. And so that's what it was. Sure enough, I found it. It was at low buzz, and even in the garage you could barely hear it, but I found it. So it wasn't just in my head.
Frustrating, very frustrating. Crikey.
Yeah. So that's my superpower.
Finding small noises. Yeah, I did used to think that I could hear them, and maybe I can hear some things, but all the time, constantly, there's these two tones, just constantly, like one, psst, and the other one's like, just constant. It's just absolute. But like, I'd look at the phone, and then a message would come through, because I thought I could feel it or hear that, but maybe who knows what that is? Maybe I felt the waves, or maybe I picked up on the other person who was messaging me. Who knows? It's unexplainable.
Yeah. Who's to say?
Who's to say? Maybe it's all of those things. Maybe,
yeah. Well, I know Guru Singh told me a story. He talked about a tribe that he went to go visit. I think this is the story was the one where maybe he was in the Mexican mountains in Mexico, and with the indigenous tribes and people there. And he was studying with them. He was learning about healing with music, I believe, if this is the same story. If not, it was not the healing with music, but something else. Mm-hmm. And he had done a lot of traveling with stuff. And he had met with this group, this tribe, and they had said, we want you to come. They didn't know he was going to be there. He showed up. And then they're like, oh, okay, we want you to meet with this one man who will take you up the mountain and he will teach you and show you all the stuff and, all these things. And they said it's a 2 mile, or a couple miles to go meet with him. And he's over here in this village and he'll be waiting for you. And it's like, wait, how's he going to be waiting for you? It's not like they had phones. They didn't have walkie-talkies. They didn't have smoke signals. They didn't use any of that stuff. But because they put out this frequency, I guess, they communicated, when Guru Singh had got to that man said, I've been waiting for you. Yes. You are so-and-so. And he's like, whoa, how'd you know that? It's pretty incredible.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
there's
anyway,
a rabbit hole. Wow. That's boggled my little noggin.
Yeah, makes your hair stand up on your arms, right?
Wow.
We think about technology like this great invention, whereas in other words, it's more like we've devolved, right?
Yeah, we're just copying it.
Relied on other devices to do it for us. So and we have to pay a monthly fee for it. So another one is write in a journal. We've talked about this in past episodes. This is helping to get everything out of your head and onto paper and putting yourself in a good vibrational state before bed. We've talked about things that you can write down. Write down what was magical about today. A few sentences. What will be great about tomorrow? You're gonna write up imagining that tomorrow's going to be an amazing day, so that way tomorrow will be an amazing day. And that's something you definitely want to do. Practice that. Also, what helps my wife a lot too is doing 5 to 10 minutes of some yoga poses, some qigong. She loves doing qigong. That works really well for her as well. So we'll put some stuff down below as well for that. And then now let's get into some hacks that are biohacks that will cost a little bit of money. Some are a little bit $100, some are a couple $100, but these are things that I use myself because it are those things that it can help you heal faster. And if it does, then of course I'm going to use it. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Right? There are studies that show that this stuff works, so I'm going to do it. And one of them is called red light therapy. It's infrared near and infrared far light. And I actually have light panels on the other side in my bathroom. I have 2 light panels on the walls that I used to stand in front of for 20 minutes and I'd rotate my body around. You could also buy some that are a little bit more expensive where you lay down on. It's kind of like a tanning bed. It's way more expensive. I think 10, 20 grand for that. Whereas these light panels were maybe $1,000 total for both of them. But since then, there's been a new invention that came out, and it's called the FlexBeam. And this one is actually a portable unit, and it is battery operated, rechargeable, and you can also plug it directly in. So you just use a plug sometimes, and it has 3 settings where it goes into a deeper penetration. So it actually is more intense light that you can use on specific problem areas to help with the healing process. And I use this, 20 to 30 minutes every single day. But the cool thing is I can use this sitting in my recliner or on the couch, watching an episode, watching a show, and just putting it on my shoulder, and I'll have it on my shoulder and my arm because I had shoulder issues from all the heavy training that I used to do. And now that I'm working out, they started reoccurring, and this has actually helped a lot. So I'll do that. I had sprained my toe last week and the week before, so I put this on my toe, and I'll do this for 20 minutes on my toe. If I have a finger that hurts or something like that, I'll put it on there 20 minutes a day, bare minimum 10 minutes a day. And it helps as well. And there are a lot of studies into red light therapy, and there's some other brands and stuff that I recommend too. But this one's really cool because, it's rechargeable, and you don't have to, stand in front of a light panel to use it. But, just a quick overview of some of the things that they say red light therapy helps with. And again, this has been shown to work in clinical things. So there's a lot of research that you can look up on it, but, they talk about how to help with less inflammation, helps with increased natural antioxidant defense, improved circulation for tissue and arteries, and oxygenation, higher testosterone, better skin because it boosts collagen and elastin production, reduction of pain because of less inflammation, muscle recovery, which is what I use it a lot for, better hair growth, works on my beard, improves cellular health, increase activity throughout the body. So, there's just so many benefits to it that I'm made it a part of my daily routine. And again, I've been using the light panels for I'd say about 2 years now, maybe 3 years. But this one I got about a year ago when it first came out, and I love it. So highly recommend using red light therapy. So take a look at it and see if it's something that you want to try out. And then another one is called PEMF, Pulse Electronic Magnetic Fields. And what it is, this is actually a little device right here, and I keep this next to my bed. And there's several different settings on it. And this little box plugs into the wall, and then it has magnets, and you can buy the one that has 4 magnets or 2 magnets or 1 magnet. I have the one that has 2 magnets because that's what I need. So these are really, really intense, strong, I think they call them earth magnets. So it emits a really high frequency, which is similar to to be like the Earth's vibration, because the Earth's is constantly vibrating. The frequency is always vibrating at 7.83 hertz. And scientists have talked about this, and they talk about like needing to fix, like when you're in space. So the astronauts in space, they would become depressed if they're in space too long because they're not getting the frequency. Now, the Earth is always giving off this frequency, similar to like a tuning fork, or I actually have this little wood block here thing. This, let's see how this sounds for you guys. And see, it's still going. It gives off this frequency. So the Earth is constantly giving off this one frequency, and it's always doing that. Now, when you have all these outside influences like your cell phone, computers, Wi-Fi signals, radio signals, all this stuff, all these electronics going on all around you, it's breaking up and distorting that frequency. And they've actually shown this in light studies and different studies where they're able to see those frequencies being disrupted. And it's definitely not good for your health. So that's where these can actually help you balance out. They say it can help with recovery, everything from better sleep, enhancing the body's natural recovery process, cellular dysfunction throughout the body, stimulates cells to recharge cells, more energy naturally, athletic performance, reduces inflammation and pain, helps you recover from injury faster. So when I have an injury, I'll actually, at first with my shoulders, I used to put them directly on both shoulders, and I would just hold it there. And there's actually an add-on that comes with it that you screw on here, which focuses it directly in. So that way it's going directly in through here. And then for this, I use this without it under the bed. So I have it right under my mattress against the baseboards and the mattress. So there's only like 10 inches between my body and it. And I have it running all night through my sleep, where it keeps me at this natural frequency the whole time. And it really helps me. But when I got injuries, I'll put it on for like 20, 30 minutes a day, and I'll have it on those injury spots. But I only use it on that if I have an injury. I'll hold it on there for like 20 or 30 minutes a day. Otherwise, I just use it in the evening before, while I'm in bed. So while I'm getting ready for bed, and then while I'm sleeping. So that's something that I definitely highly recommend that you research and look into, because it's really, really good. Have you ever tried anything like that?
Yeah, I like the whole frequency of the earth thing, because that reminds me of how birds kind of know not only where to go, but when to go, isn't it? Like to migrate and stuff. So for humans to be taken away from that, to suffer depression and stuff like that, makes absolute sense to me. That they need that frequency and stuff. Yeah. This is definitely something for another time. But the frequency of music, we definitely need to talk about, because I've heard some mad stuff about frequencies in music. So we're going to add that to the list. In fact, if you're watching, if you've got any thoughts on any of this or anything related to this that you'd love us to expand on, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love to see down in the comments what it is you would love to hear more about. If you're listening to us on Spotify or any other audio places, then hey, come on over to YouTube. We have magnets over here, so come and join us and leave some comments. And hey, while you're here, you may as well hit subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. And hey, give us a thumbs up since you're doing things. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? But I love the idea of these frequencies and talking more about that later. I know you've got some more tips about your bedtime routine, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I definitely want to mention which brand this is. I totally forgot to mention that. This is the Earth Pulse. So Earth Pulse brand is the one that I got, and I really love it. I researched quite a bit. There's another one that's even a little bit stronger, but it's like 10 times more expensive. So for the quality, for what you get, I think this was like anywhere from $500-$600 to $1,000 or something like that. I highly recommend you get it. I only use the one frequency now, the recovery frequency. So I could have went with a cheaper one with 2 magnets, but I ended up going with the one that has like a bunch of different options, just in case I needed them. Because at first I was testing out the different frequencies, but now I just use the straight recovery frequency is the one that I use for sleeping and for injuries and things like that. There are other brands out there that claim to be better. I don't want to name any of those brands, but I do not recommend those. I do not recommend those mats that have like crystals and stuff on there, and with that, and they have the PEMF, because those are so weak. The energy is so weak coming from the PEMF that it's just not worth it even bothering with it. That's why I got this one, because it's, I'm not saying crystals don't have healing abilities. They do. If you want to get one of those warm mats that warm up with the crystals, then get that one alone. Don't get it with the PEMF, because that's a crap PEMF, and it's just not worth it getting it for the expense, and just get one of these as well. So I definitely want to recommend that. The other things I was going to mention, this actually has to do with sleep hygiene, because we're talking about bed anyway. So why not, right? It can help improve your sleep a little bit so you're not dirty. But one of them is sleeping with a clean shirt on every night before you get in bed. So put on a new shirt, not the one that you wore throughout the whole day and might have sweated already. Just put on a brand new t-shirt, a comfortable t-shirt before bed, and that will help your sheets from getting dirty quicker. And it also help if you're acne prone as well on your back. because, the sweat and the dirt that you get on your sheets, is going to cause you to break out more too. So if you're somebody that has a challenge with that, I would highly recommend doing that. And then I guess we can get now into while in bed, what to do. So that was prepping before bed. And now we can talk about what to do while you're in bed. And one of the things I would recommend is one of my favorite game changers for sleeping for me. I never liked using sleep masks, and because they just really felt uncomfortable and bugged me. So I was recommended by Guru Singh this hood, this sleep hood. They call it a sleep hood. And it's pretty cool. It's like one of those old style ones that you put on, like you see people wearing on their head, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to go night night. There we go.
Yeah, like Ebenezer Scrooge or Wee Willie Winky.
Yeah. But this one actually goes all the way over your head. Like that.
Like Daredevil.
Yeah. So, and I can still see a little light right now because obviously it's bright outside. But during the night, it completely blocks all blue light. It blocks everything that you would see, and it really helps. And it also gives you this comfy feeling because it kind of squeezes on your head a little bit, and it gives you this warm, comfy feeling, like you're in the womb or something like that. And it also covers your ears too. So if you're somebody freaked out about spiders crawling in your ears or bugs crawling in your ears at night, this would definitely make you feel better too. So, and if you didn't have that phobia, now you do.
Yeah, now I
pick
am.
up one of these. Yeah. I'll put a link down below as well where you can get this Nite hood, but I highly recommend you get them. Get like 2 or 3 of them too, because then that way you can keep them clean. So you can wash it like, every 2 weeks or something like that, because it will get dirty as you sleep. But obviously you want to wash your face before you put it on. And that should be something, again, for sleep hygiene, is definitely wash your face before bed. Use some soap and water, a face wash that you use. I never even knew about this, but this is like a purifying toner. I use this Now Solutions one, this acai one, vitamin C and acai berry, and put this on a cotton swab. Clean your face, wash it with some good soap or something like that, and that will help you as well. And are there any things that you clean your face? Do you clean your face before bed, or are you a dirty face sleeper?
I'm a very basic human. I'm very basic. I don't take multivitamins. I probably should. I'm getting older. Don't take supplements. The only supplement I've got actually is I had a vitamin B12 spray that I kept forgetting to take, and these turmeric anti-inflammatory ones with this curcumin in, and black pepper to aid absorption. They're the only ones I've ever had. And so back to that. But when it comes to sleep and bedtime routine, brush my teeth, water. That's it. I have very nice young skin for somebody who's 40, but I don't use any products or anything. Nothing like that. I literally just use water. When I have a shower, I'll wash my hair and all that, and it goes on my face, and I just rub it off. But I tend to have a shower earlier, and then when I brush my teeth, I'll just a bit of water, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I was like that too when I was younger. I mean, I didn't take vitamins when I was younger. And like I used to joke, and they'd be like, "Oh, you want a salad with that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I take a multi. I don't need a salad. I gotta eat vegetables."
Nice.
But then as you get older and wiser and smarter, you just go, "Actually, I want to be around for my kids' life. I don't want to die early." Yeah. So I highly recommend you do those things.
You look great for 84.
Oh, thank you. You mean 184?
Sorry,
184.
I didn't want to give it away, but okay.
I'm going to push to 500, man. I'm going to push to 500. Well, at the very least for you, Tony, you need to take your B12s, man. And I highly recommend you take this one, or this complete version. They make it in a spray as well, and it has your essentials, your K2, and your fats. And I highly recommend that you do it, because B12 is the one thing you can't get from your
Yeah.
diet, whether you're a meat eater or not a meat eater. The only way meat eaters get B12 is when the farmers actually throw in a cheap B12 into the feed, you know?
Yeah.
So that's
So
where
you
they
get
get
it
the
secondhand.
B12.
Yeah, well, I'm vegetarian,
Yeah.
so there's none of that for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Well, that's
I will
what
look
meat
it
eaters
up.
always say, is always say, like, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you don't get your B12. It's like, well, you don't get it either. The only reason you get it, if you get it, is
Yeah.
because they put the crap one in the animal feed. So it's like, why not cut out the middleman and get the good quality stuff?
Exactly.
You know, regardless.
Okay.
Whether you eat meat or not, take the quality B12, not the crap that they're giving you.
Okay.
But that's another time for that stuff.
Nice.
So the next one I would say is what we talked about last week, is putting things in the chest, right? Because that tends to keep people up the most, is when they have a stress or they have something that pops in their head, or a worry of like, oh man, am I going to be able to fall asleep? Well, they're worried about falling asleep, and then you say, well, stop worrying. And they're like, well, I'm not worrying, but I am having trouble falling asleep, so I'm worried I'm not going to feel good tomorrow. So it's like the worry is causing them to worry, which is causing them to keep them up. So you got to just put things in the chest. So I like to imagine this chest on the beach with the ocean in the background, just kind of like you hear the ocean waves. And I just put all those worries and those things that I'm thinking about and that I'm worried about, or that I'm, like trying to solve, or I want to solve right now. And I imagine there's this chest, and I open it up and I put it in there. I close it, I lock it, and I say, tomorrow I will look in that chest and I will go over those things. So I put them off. I file them for tomorrow. I put them away for tomorrow instead of constantly thinking about it right now. And what do you do if it doesn't work? You do it again. What if it doesn't work again? You do it again. What if it doesn't work? You do it again. How many times you do it again? You keep doing it again until it works. That's it. You just keep putting it away, putting it away, putting it away. You're just quieting the mind, putting it to rest, putting it in the chest, and putting it in the chest until it stops trying to keep you awake. And it works. Usually I'll do it so many times. Like if there's times, like last night I was really wired, and I remember thinking like, oh man, I even forgot to take my CBD, but I was already in bed. It was like 1:30 in the morning. And I'm like, oh man, if I go downstairs, I'm going to wake up my wife, cause she's laying down. I'm going to wake her up as I leave the room. Then I'm going to be more wired because I walked all the way downstairs. So I'm just going to go to sleep without the CBD, but I started feeling like, oh, I'm really awake and wired. How am I going to be able to fall asleep? And it's even worse that I didn't take the CBD, but I just like quieted the mind, put it in the chest. I don't know. I might have put it in the chest like 20 times, 30 times, 100 times, who knows? But eventually I fell asleep, and then next thing you know, it was morning. So at some point it worked. And you just got to keep doing it.
Nice. Yeah, I think sometimes with things like that, like you said, journal, that can help get rid of things. But then, like, oh, what if I forget the things that I keep remembering? Like, what if I forget about it? If they're that important, you'll remember it tomorrow, won't you? Like, you filed it away for tomorrow. You'll either remember it tomorrow and deal with it, or you'll forget, and it probably wasn't that important anyway. That's my kind of attitude on it.
Yeah, if it is something like there are plenty of times where I do have an idea about something, and I don't want to forget it, because I do remember, I do like get ideas that I will not remember for a while. And it happens to me because I have so many different ideas that come at me. So in bed, I will grab my phone or my iPad, and I will type out just a quick line, because again, that's journaling. So if you want to do paper, I'd recommend paper and pen, but for me, I like to file them on my, my Evernote to start with. And then I put them into Google Drive or something, Google Docs or something like that. But yeah, I gotta get it out, or I use Trello as well. So I use a combination of those things, and I'll put it on there because that allows me to now relax. Even though I had to get on my electronics or whatever, but now I can rest easy knowing that I will not have to keep thinking like, don't forget, because my brain will keep going. So I have to say, okay, I'm going to put it down, and now I can put it in the chest because I did save it, and I'm not going to forget because now it's somewhere, right?
Yeah, nice one. I think
so in those cases.
Yeah, I think putting it in the chest is definitely something that people could use more often, and like I shared last time, the whole just not now. Thoughts pop up, not now. That's the one that I use, but I like the visual idea of the chest and putting it in. In fact, I did give it a try after last session, because I thought, I like the seaside, and even just thinking about all the ocean and all that just sent me off anyway. So yeah, I love that one. I do love that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So have you tried the chili pad? It's a thing that goes in your bed and it pumps water. So it's a mat that goes under your mattress cover.
Like a waterbed, right?
It's kind of like a waterbed. It goes on top of your mattress.
Yeah.
It goes on top of your mattress, and it has super thin pipes going through it. And then it has this little quiet machine that heats the water or cools the water to the exact temperature that you want. And you can have like a double bed version where you can have one temperature and whoever else is in the bed with you that day can set their own temperature. And apparently they're super amazing, awesome, great. Is that something you've tried? I mean, it is electronics, though.
Yeah.
But from the position of keeping your temperature regulated, like not too hot, not too, sticking one leg out the cover, and then your partner there is giving off all the heat of a pizza oven, 7,000 degrees, and throwing their covers on you. Yeah.
It's going to depend on obviously your situation, because like some houses are going to be hotter, warmer, whatever, colder. So yeah, I mean, I have seen some other devices where it just blows like hot or cold air under your sheets as well. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very interesting. And I have been wanting to test it out, but I haven't actually tried either of those solutions yet. What we do right now is I turn on the AC. We have our regular AC running nonstop pretty much here in Southern California. And then I also have a portable device as well that cools our room pretty quick. And I run that for about an hour or longer before bed and while we're in bed. And then when we're ready to go to bed, I shut it off. So the room is pretty decently cool. But I tend to sleep pretty warm, so I will I'll use a sheet, and I'll usually kick my legs off of the sheet and start out with no sheet sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I throw it on as I get cold or something like that. So for me that works, but I am interested in trying those for sure. My wife, she can't do that though. She gets too cold. She's too hot under the blankets, and then she's too cold if she has no blanket or even a sheet. Plus one hack I forgot to mention is she uses a weighted blanket, and she loves it.
Yeah,
so
I tried one of those
that's been a game changer for her. So we have a couple of those, and they make different weighted blankets, and it's supposed to like keep you all nestled and keep you like all safe feeling like you're in the womb. Yeah. So I know a lot of people that love the weighted blanket, and they use that in their daily life.
Yeah. We had some friends come and stay at our little holiday home place. We got a little caravan, and they brought that with them, and they were like, "Oh, try this." Thud, and it was great. It was like, "Oh wow, it was good," but I didn't have an actual sleep under it though.
2 more really important sleep tips for you that will help with your sleep. One that is so important is having a comfortable mattress, something that is good for you, not too firm, not too soft, and a good quality one. And I have searched for years for a good one. I remember back in the days when you had to go to a mattress like sales place, like a place that sold only mattresses, a store. And they would have these sleazy like guys in there that you would imagine probably used to work in used car sales, and they just weren't good enough to cut it there. So they worked in those places, and nothing against you if you used to work in one of those places, or even a car you selling used cars. I know some really cool people that do that, but these people at most of these, places that sold mattresses, I just remember them trying to upsell me like crazy. Like, oh, no, you need this $12,000, $14,000 mattress. And it just blew me away. Like, this is just like some foam and some stuff in there. And this is 12 grand. This is the cost of a nice used car or something like that. This is just insane. And, there's these companies that have come out since then, and they sell direct to the consumer. One of them is called Tuft and Needle, and I've been following them for many, many years. Probably since the start of them, because I remember they first started out selling like Japanese futon type beds. And at the time I was looking for a folding bed that, I want to try out the Japanese style, and we'd fold up the bed in the morning and tuck it under one of the tables or desks and then pull it back out at night and then go to sleep. And we did that for quite a while, and it felt really good on my back. But eventually we, decided to get a regular bed again. And fortunately, Tuft and Needle actually was making them at that time, and they were selling direct to consumers, and they were selling them for, somewhere between $600 and $1,200 or something like that for their beds, which was like unheard of, because most of the time you go into a store and, like I said, they were starting around 3 or 4 or 5 grand, and then they would try to upsell you into this 12 grand bed or 15 grand, just some insane amounts. And Tuft and Needle was selling them for less than a quarter of that cost, like 10% of that, which was insane. And it was really cool because I remember following their story. They developed this system. I don't know if they invented it or not, but they had actually created this system where they had this machine that would compress the beds down into small size of vacuum sealed bags. So you'd have this big mattress, this California King mattress that could, be rolled together and put into a box about like this big, this thick, and, tall enough to, fit the bed in there. So it was insane that they could actually ship you a bed and it'd be at your door, and then you just cut open the box, pull it out, cut the bag itself, and then it would just expand. And over the course of 24, 48 hours, it was ready to sleep on. It was insane. And I know a lot of other companies does that as well now, like Purple's another company, but I just, choose to stick with the company that I'd followed from the beginning. And I just like their message, their story, and just what they've kind of brought to consumers. And they've been doing it for so long. So I choose to support them when I can. So all the kids in my house, the whole family, we all have these Tuft and Needle beds. They start at the time of this video, they start from $645 up to $1,095. So $1,000 or $1,095. And that's for a California King, I believe, which is what I have. And they also have, what's cool is they have a 100-night sleep trial, which I know Purple does as well now too. But that was another reason why I went with Tuft and Needle in the beginning, was because they had this, sleep trial. And if you didn't like the bed and it wasn't comfortable, whatever to you, and you just didn't want to give it a try, which I recommend, if you get one, give it at least 3 months. You've got 100 days to try it out. That's more than 3 months. So give it 90 days at minimum to get used to it, because sometimes your body has to get used to a firmer mattress, and it is better for your body. So you do that, and if you don't like it, you return it. And one cool thing about them is they will actually send, or now they put down in their literature, they put down that it'll most likely be donated to charity, which is what they said from the beginning. As far as I remember, it was like they would give it to like shelters and stuff like that, women's shelters. And I was like, man, that's the coolest thing ever. So again, that's another reason why I buy from them, because they just have a cool message and a cool mission and all that. So that's why I went with them. And like I said, it comes in a box. You get it in a couple days. It's compressed. I know that they sell it in some stores now as well. I know like Lowe's, I don't know what other stores they sell it in, but Lowe's is like a Home Depot kind of place. So you can just check online and see if you got somewhere local that you can pick it up, and you just grab it in a box and bring it home, or just order directly to your door, which is what I do. And Again, you can check out Purple as well if you want to. They've got a very similar product with a sleep trial as well. But like I said, I just choose to support Tuft & Needle because of that. And then also pillows. Pillows are super important too because your head and your neck rely on it and they go on it, and it is going to improve the quality of your sleep and your health, your overall health, because how you're going to wake up in the morning, how you're going to feel, if you're going to have a sore neck, sore shoulder. My shoulders used to always freeze up on me. A couple times a year it would happen, either like for me leaning on it too much during a really long sessions at the computer because we were doing a launch or something like that, and I had to be at for hours. I had to be at my computer. I'd get up and move around, but still just being on, that arm and forgetting and just leaning on it. And then sometimes just falling asleep on it in the wrong position would also cause that, which would really suck. So, pillows, super important. Ever since I've changed my pillows and exercising and do all the stuff that I'm doing now, haven't had an issue with it. So knock on bamboo right here on my desk. But the pillows that I actually like, for the kids, I got them all the Tuft & Needle pillows. But they max out at about 5 inches. So they're like 5 inches in height. And I need a little taller one, and I didn't want to get 2 of them, so I just decided to give a try for the Purple pillow because they actually sell a taller one, which is 7.5 inches tall for bigger people that need to kind of lean on your side without having your neck, go over like that. And even the 7.5 is just a teeny bit short, so I actually have a really thin pillow, a really cheap thin pillow that I just put under that one, which hikes it up probably another 2 inches. So I'm getting close to 10 inches. So to be honest, I could have bought 2 Tuft & Needle pillows, but I thought the 7.5 would be enough, so I wasn't really foreseeing that. So maybe I'll give that a try where I just put 2 Tuft & Needle pillows together, so it'd be 10 inches. Could try that as well, but for now I got the Purple, and it actually is really nice, and it's very cooling as well, so it keeps your head from getting too hot because it's like honeycombed, and so it allows air to kind of circulate so you don't get as hot. So I highly recommend you check out both those pillows. The Purple makes other sizes as well, so they do make a 5.5 inch and some other ones. And again, I'll link to those at the bottom and on RockStarLife.com. But those, the Purple pillow I got is like $159. The Tuft & Needle pillows were $85 each. And then they make the King ones as well, which is a little bit more expensive. It's like $100 or something like that at the time of this video. So, give those a check out. And then as far as body pillows, I also use 2 body pillows. So I have about 1 pillow behind my head, behind my neck, and on this, when I sleep sideways or whatever, I'm a side sleeper. And then I have 2 body pillows. Well, actually, one's a body pillow and the other one's just a regular foam pillow as well. So it's just easier to get in and out of bed with a regular pillow on one side. So it's up to you, but you can get body pillows or foam pillows. Make sure they're not too thick, because otherwise, if you have a partner on the bed, you start taking up the whole bed with all your pillows. So everybody kind of makes fun of me for all the pillows I have, but man, I get a good night's sleep and I don't wake up sore. I don't get those neck aches anymore. I don't get shoulder pains like I used to from sleeping and all that. So I'm going to do what I got to do. So I have 2 pillows on the side of me. So again, you can get cheap foam pillows. Pretty much anything will do with decent reviews on Amazon for like $20 to $35 or something like that. And then I have the one under my head, the Purple pillow or Tuft & Needle pillows under my head, and then the 2 on the side of me. And then I got another cheap thin pillow that I actually just use. It's not even foam. It's like a really light, thin kind of pillow, one of those cheaper ones. You can just get like a Target or some store. And I use that on top of my chest. So it's kind of like my weighted blanket, because I don't use a weighted blanket, but I like that feeling of something on my chest when I'm sleeping that's not too heavy and light. But then I could also put my arm over it. So when I side sleep, my arm is up. And it doesn't make my arm like sore, my shoulder sore. So I've just noticed as I've done that, I did that on accident once. I woke up with the pillow like around my arm, kind of holding on to it. I was like, actually, it's kind of comfortable. So I kept doing it, and I really love that. So I've got the 2 pillows on the side, 1 pillow, thin pillow under my arm, and 1 behind my head for a total of a bunch of pillows. So give that a try. It doesn't hurt to try it out, see how it feels, and if it's comfortable and it feels good and you wake up good, then that's all that's really important.
there's a couple of notes I had, and I thought, oh, I'd love to throw these in now. And I brought up the chili pad. And I know one of them was we had a discussion about it before, so we'll get to that now. And that was about the idea of sleep cycles. And for me, I'm fascinated with it. The idea that we do 90-minute sleep cycles, and they've measured it, so they're measuring something is happening. These sleep cycles, and like if you get woken up mid-sleep cycle, going through the REM cycle and all this like deep sleep and light sleep. If you get woken up in deep sleep, then that's when you're like a zombie for ages and just can't kind of come round or whatever. But if you wake up at the end of a sleep cycle, you're more likely to wake up nice and natural and light. So I use just an online sleep cycle calculator that tells me how many cycles I'll get if I go to sleep now and what time I should then wake up to be at the end of a cycle, and factoring in 20 minutes or so to get to sleep. But there's two thoughts there, really. One is that if I don't go to sleep at the time it says, I start wigging out. I'm like, but oh shit, I'm 5 minutes into that, and then that starts adding stress. So maybe if that does that with you, maybe it's not worth doing it. But also, what if it isn't a thing? What if it really isn't a thing and it's just a placebo effect? In which case, great, I'll take it. I'm going to go to sleep at this time, and then if I wake up at that time, I'll feel amazing and wide awake. And then when I wake up at that time, I'm like, oh, well, I feel amazing and wide awake. Who knows what that's from? But as long as I haven't been wigging out about not getting to sleep at the correct time, I like sleep cycles, and maybe that's something people want to have a little look at. But what are your thoughts on sleep cycles?
Yeah, I agree with you, because I didn't even mention this because I don't use it anymore, but years and years and years ago, I think 2005, 2006, there was a device that came out called the Sleep Tracker Watch. And it was just a basic calculator watch, but it had a motion detector in there, and it would track your sleep throughout the evening. Now, today they have wearable devices like the Oura Ring and the Whoop and other things out there as well. I believe, Fitbit. I don't know if the Fitbit, there's other devices. I don't know if the Apple Watch does that yet. I know the last one didn't, or maybe it did. I don't remember. I don't think it did. But what the watch did, it was really basic, and I loved it, is that you set it to say, okay, I need to wake up at this time, and then you would set it for, okay, give me a 20, 30, or 40-minute window. Yeah. So basically, if I said I wanted to wake up at 6 a.m., it would wake me up somewhere between... let's say if I set it for 40 minutes, it would wake me up between 5:20 a.m. and 6 a.m. according to where my rhythm was. So that way I wouldn't get jolted out of bed like when you're younger and we had those old school alarm clocks scaring the crap out of you and giving you a heart attack. So I did love it. The challenge is that, of course you still have to be, it's not like it would go off and you'd be like, oh, I'm at the right time of my rhythm, so I'm ready to get up. It's like, no, it's still early. I could sleep in. So you still want to sleep in, but you wouldn't have that jolted feeling. So I used to love it. But what changed for me is I no longer have I need to be up by time. So what I do instead is I have my my phone. I actually have a alarm app on there that will play music, and I have yoga music, really relaxing yoga music, and I set it to slowly go up over the course of 10 minutes, and it starts at very, very minimal. So it'll take 15 minutes at least for it to get at any level that would actually probably wake me up out of a deep sleep, if even that. So what I've noticed is when I set that, I more than likely will wake up at the right time, because if I'm really tired, I'm in that deep sleep, that music starting doesn't wake me up. So then all of a sudden, when I am ready to wake up, the music does wake me up. It's like, oh, I'm awake now. Okay.
That's good. It's like those sunrise lights.
I got that too, but the hood doesn't help with that.
Yes, hood. Of course. Yes, you're.
I still have that light next to my bed, so it's still there. It just. I just don't use it to wake me up anymore. My final thing that helped me improve things slightly was
learning to look at my bedtime routine and the sleep that I get as being the start of the next day, not the end of the day that I've just finished. And the point of that is like if I had a budget of $100 a day or something, £100 a day, and I got to the end of the day and I got money left over, I could just spend it on any old rubbish. And if you think about how you spend your time at the end of a day, you might be like, oh yeah, I can goof off and all this. But if you think, okay, this is coming out of tomorrow's budget, this is setting me up for tomorrow, that was one thing that really made a difference. And that is one of the reasons why I started cutting out the caffeine from 2 p.m. That's why I was like, okay, hard, fast rule. If I want to be productive the next day, I do not play on Population 1 on the VR after 10:30. That's it. There's a rule. And if it's 10 o'clock, I'm not going to go on because I know I'm going to be on for at least 2 hours. As long as 2 hours is how long the battery will last on the Quest. So that's because I'm mindful that I'm impacting the next day. I'm taking time from the next day. And Jerry Seinfeld has this amazing sketch. It's one of the, on the Seinfeld show, they'd show real 30-second clips of him on stage at the comedy club kind of thing. And he's talking about night guy versus morning guy. And he's like, I'm night guy. I can stay up and watch TV all night if I want. Getting up at 5 a.m.? Hey, that's morning guy's problem. And he starts going on about, that was a terrible Jerry Seinfeld impression, by the way. That's morning guy's problem. But he goes on about basically how that's morning guy, and morning guy has to deal with it. And the only way that night guy screws morning guy, because morning guy has no comeback against night guy unless he just lays in that much and he's late for work that many times that he gets fired, and then night guy can't afford to go out anymore. It's a great sketch. I've just butchered it, but it's true. It's true. Like I find the night guy morning guy was a big thing until morning guy curses night guy. Morning guy's that guy. Why did he go to sleep so late? But the reality is you're spending your budget from the next day already. That's the way I see it. You're either setting yourself up for success, or setting yourself up for the other option. So that's all of my views on sleep and the things I've been doing right, the things I've been doing wrong, and that's everything I've got to bring to this excellent conversation. I've really enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed it. I think all that's probably missing now is a RockStar mission.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. Yeah. We need a jingle for the RockStar mission.
Why don't you just sing one for us?
Well, I was thinking maybe something like Mission Impossible.
Like Mission Impossible. I was just thinking that too.
One of those ones that sound a bit like it, but it's enough different that it's not against copyright. One of those ones that you'll get on like a TV ad or something like. Instead of
we'll have to find one.
It goes dun 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 dun. But that sounds far too upbeat. Doesn't sound spyish enough at all.
Ours is different. Ours has a duh at the end. A duh, not a duh.
Dun 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 dun. RockStar mission.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, well, there you go. Let's do that every time from the beginning. I think Tony should do that part just like that. Boom. I love it. All right. Well, today's RockStar mission, if you choose to take it, which we hope you do, and commit to it, not only take it, but commit to it. So head on over to rockstarinlife.com/36 and download today's RockStar missions so you can follow along and write this all out. Or just write on a piece of paper if you want, whatever you want to do. But again, it's down there for you at rockstarinlife.com/36. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice putting it in the chest. So do that for the next 40 days at least, where every single day, if you have a challenge or you have something or a worry or something like that, you're just going to keep putting it in the chest over and over again until it no longer becomes a worry and you fall asleep. So it's like counting sheep. You're just going to keep doing it until you fall asleep, and then you wake up in the morning going, whoa, it actually worked. I don't even know when I fell asleep, but I fell asleep. So put it in the chest, just like I said. It's on the ocean. Open it up, throw it in there, or set it in there, close it, lock it. It comes back to you, and you start thinking again, what if this, what if that, and tomorrow I have to do all these things, and I got to be this, and I got to all that stuff. Open up the chest, put it in there, close it, lock it, save it for tomorrow. So you're not completely trying to forget about it. You're just saying, look, I will not forget because I put it in this chest and I'm going to get it to it in the morning or in the afternoon. So it'll be there and it'll be ready for me and I don't need to think about it right now. Just keep doing that until you fall asleep. The next thing you do is you're going to journal. So for the next 40 days, last episode, we talked about journaling and what you can do with that. So if you haven't watched that episode, go back there and watch that episode. We'll link to it as well. But for journaling for the next 40 days, you want to write down what was great, the magic moments, what was great about today. Okay. So what was great about today and what's going to be great about tomorrow? And you just write a few sentences at least. And you can do that every single day for the next 40 days. And then for today, we want to choose 3 things from what we talked about. It could be something that costs money. It could be something that doesn't cost money. But choose at least 3 things that you weren't already doing. So it could be, okay, well, I'm going to get the sleep hood. Or I'm going to go to sleep earlier and save that creative work for the morning or daytime instead of doing it 2, 3 in the morning. So you can try that. The red light, therapy, you can get one of those, or you can add one of the supplements or all the supplements. Meditation, you can start doing that. Yoga, walking every single day or exercising 2 days a week at the very least, and also walking. So choose 3 things that we talked about today and add those to the things that you're going to do for the next 40 days. And if you want, you could add more. I'm not saying you can only choose 3 things. Start with 3 and then add more as you start to enjoy and see the benefits that you're getting from doing these things. And then continuously do them and do them and do them. But just try it out for the next 40 days in a row. Do that. Choose 3 things. And let's start out with that. And I guarantee that you're going to have a better quality of sleep. You're going to have more creative things that you could imagine that you've been able to do. You're just going to, everything's going to be better. Trust me. It's going to be all rainbows and unicorns and popsicles, right? Right, Tony?
Yes, and chimichangas.
Boom.
There's got to be a Deadpool reference at all times. At all times. There's Deadpool right there.
Yep.
Oh, I'm stoked. I've just been looking through the notes here from what we've been talking about today. We've really done a deep dive into sleep. So if you've stuck with us, whether it was in 1 session or 10 sessions, just to get through all of this great stuff, I congratulate you and thank you so much for listening. And for me, I'm so interested in hearing what you think of this when you've listened to it. What your thoughts are. So head on over back to YouTube if you're not there already, and pop a comment down below. Yes, indeedy. Do we have anything else to add, Dan? Nice.
No. I ain't got nothing else to add, but
well, all that's left to say is don't stop believing.
Don't forget to be a rock star in your life and make the world your stage.
Thanks for watching the RockStar In Life podcast, your source for unleashing your inner rock star. For more tips, training, and free stuff, be sure to go to rockstarinlife.com and join the RockStar In Life revolution today. Thanks again, and don't forget to be a rock star in your life and make the world your stage.